Welcome to Two Mediums and a Large. Thanks for joining us. Again, I am Lara,
I'm Robbie.
I'm Heather.
and today we're just going to kind of take things and I want to tell you guys a little bit about my meditation that I had yesterday, as it was really interesting, and I felt like I was like, oh, I need to talk to somebody about this. Okay, so I went into a meditation yesterday. I was doing one of those guided meditations just because I really needed that extra support today, and there's no shame in doing guided meditations, you know?
And
If that's what works for you, gets you out of your headspace. So I really felt the need to do like a dissolving of the cord cutting. What's that one you talk about? The angelic fire.
Oh, the violet transmission.
Yeah, the
Violet
yeah,
violet
flame.
transmission.
Violet
Yeah,
Flame,
so
that's a
I
good
was
one.
doing that one yesterday, and I've been feeling really tired and I'm really weighed down by just, all the external things happening in my life. So I sat in this meditation. It's like 40 minutes long. And it was going really good, but I noticed that I instantly dropped into like, I don't know, if you meditate a lot, you see that you can really drop into your meditation quick rather than somebody who doesn't. They struggle to kind of turn off their mind. But when you have like a regular practice of it, you can drop into it quick. And I instantly fell into like this really deep trance. Like within just a couple of minutes, I was deeply trancing. And the thing was, this one was so different, and the mind gets so excited when you start seeing visions. So like when you first start meditating, you're going to see maybe colors, shapes, you might see little shadows going on, and this is you just kind of easing into this. But as you get experience and you're able to go further into this, the clarity that can come from this type of meditation is insane. Like I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, it was like my whole physical body just kind of like withered away. I was not my body at this time. I was just my consciousness. And they're showing me like all these different visions. And the thing is when I'm doing when I'm doing readings, like mediumship readings, I see it's almost like a snapshot of a vision. Sometimes it's foggy depending on like, if my chakras are balanced or not. But most of the time I see it's almost like a movie, or like they look a little fuzzy, but the clarity that came in this type of meditation was insane because it was more clear than my everyday life. It was like I was seeing my son, and he was like glowing almost gold, but I felt like I was watching him sleeping in his bed. Okay. And as I'm looking at this, I felt like I was in this moment. I was living this moment. I go to walk in, and all of a sudden, my brain snaps off out of that moment, and in comes the next kind of um, vision. The thing that's interesting with this, though, is I felt like I wasn't even in this reality. I felt like I was in another reality where I was literally watching what was happening. Now, I don't know if this falls into like remote viewing. I'm not caught up with all of this kind of extra stuff going on, but the way I felt like I was not Lara, and I was just like seeing things from a different perspective. It almost felt like an out of body experience, is how I would describe it. And the clarity that came from seeing this vision, even for a snapshot, it was the most clear, real thing I had ever seen in my life. Like this reality that we live in did not seem like reality to me
Mm.
at that time. And that almost reminded me, I felt like my soul was remembering what it was like before I came into this. And I just found this whole experience really transformative. When I came out, um, I definitely realized that I was in a trance like state. And trance channeling, we've talked about this. It does kind of freak me out. I find it so fascinating. I'm so drawn to it. And I know that there's a reason for that. I'm drawn to trance because I'm meant to do that at some time. I'm not ready for that yet because I just have a lot of belief systems around it, that I'm not completely comfortable, but I'm so drawn to it. So as I left this, I was like, oh my God, like I was kind of scared. My body was buzzing. Like I felt like every cell in my body was vibrating on me, but I felt also really relaxed and almost euphoric. Um, so that was a really interesting kind of feeling too. I almost craved to go back in that. Like I think I'm gonna go and do it again today. But yeah, that was my experience. What are your guys'
That's pretty
thoughts?
cool. That's pretty cool. I kind of
Super
think that
cool.
you did do an out of body experience, quite honestly, and some astral traveling there, because
Yeah.
that's what it's like. Is just viewing things from outside of your body and, looking down on it. And I've experienced a couple of times when I've done that where you get that feeling like, oh my gosh, I see how fake everything is, right? Like this is what it's real like. And I see the matrix or whatever it is that people have built for all these rules and stuff. I can see that from up here. And it sounds like kind of like that's what you're in, is seeing how real you were in that state and how just false everything else is. But one
Actually,
thing
now
I
that that- sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say
Now,
one thing that I think I that I have to worry about, because I like being there too, is spending too much time there.
Mm.
So that's just
yes.
something that, yeah, that I want to warn people about, is don't spend too much time there. It's great, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I know we kind of just got word jumbled. Yeah, as I was there, I'm remembering now that part of something that I need to heal is the idea that as I've been going along on this journey, it's really kind of changed my perception on reality and on life. And I think that's been really hard for me to kind of process and integrate into my life, because I always used to think, like, how could I be anything other than Lara? This is all I know. Like, how can there be an actual reality out there? Like, this isn't the reality. The reality is where we come from. And I think that that was why it was important for me to have that experience, to see that, like, my soul did remember at that point. Because I feel like, even though we, talk to the spirit world and we have, these belief systems around the afterlife, that on a human level, it's still really hard to comprehend that this isn't the reality. And how could I have lived several lives? And how could I have come from a spirit world? Like, what even is that? It makes no sense to you on a logical level. But when I had to experience that, it was so weird how all of a sudden everything made sense in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what
It's
I
so
mean?
funny because talking about this, it reminds me like of the Matrix.
Yeah.
And when he gives them the pill, and they say we usually don't free minds over a certain age because it's really hard for, the human to accept that this is actually just an illusion, which we know it is, right? But I feel like a lot of people have a hard time with understanding that concept because it really it really cuts to the core of your security, right? Because you believe in, like, the 3D, what you can feel, what you can touch, right? That we live on the earth, that you're in a human body, right? So I feel like a lot of people, it cuts into, everything they've been made to believe is actually not true. And I feel like
Yeah.
it really puts people back a bit because it really digs into that, core safety that, you are a human, you have a house and you have a job and all of these like 3D structures, but in actuality, essentially what we're experiencing is just a dream, right? It's, one aspect of the soul that's having this life, right? Where there's multiple timelines. And I feel like that's kind of, depending on how awakened a person is, it could be very hard for them to like intellectualize that concept.
That's
Yep.
actually really good points. And I feel like when we're born and we kind of go through the first little bit of our lives and we're not spiritually awakened at that point, well, I guess we're born spiritually awakened, then we kind of lose it. And at that point, life seems simple. You think the whole point of life is just to, grow, have a good job, get married, have kids, like whatever that normal life is, right? Some level of success. And that, looking at that, that seems so simple. We didn't have to think about the universe and our soul purpose and all of these things that kind of go into it. Um, Sometimes I'm envious of that, and I'm like, ignorance is bliss, and you
Yeah,
could live your whole
it is.
life and feel like you did what you were meant to do because you were successful and you built yourself a little empire, and you worked your 9 to 5 job, whatever it is that you do. But when you're on this path, that it is nagging at you to continue to learn more, to keep digging because there's more truths that need to be revealed, that takes so much courage to shake up your whole life, your whole belief systems, and then reframe your view on the world. It is, it can actually be really gut wrenching too. Not only are you being awakened, but it can be scary to think, because now you're trying to process something that your brain sometimes can't process. It can take years, months. There's things that I'm still trying to process from that I've learned from years ago, that it's still taking time to wrap my head around it, And so it definitely, I'm jealous of the people that go through life sometimes and they can just live and they're happy and they're just living in the moment, where here we are trying to, always find out what more do we need to do to fill our life purpose. But that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
I just want to
And
say
sometimes,
here,
go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, Robbie.
No, you're
I
good,
just want to
Heather.
say here, and if you are, living what we call like I call a super 3D life with the husband or the wife or your partner and your kids, and you got the house and the good job, there's nothing wrong with that, because not everyone's path is to follow the spiritual path. So I just want to make sure, like, if you're out there and, I don't want people thinking down on themselves, because not everyone is meant to follow this path. Some people are meant to have that 3D life, right? But I totally get it, because I find myself from time to time, oh, like I wish I had, the normal, 3D life. But then I remind myself, like, because in my belief system, I believe we choose what we come here to learn and to do. So I keep telling myself, Heather, you chose this path, right? So go out there and crush it. Stop looking
Yeah.
over, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? And there's a reason
Yeah.
why you came at this time, and you are, who you are for a reason. So but I have in the past, I have actually dealt with, a lot of times where I was like, why don't I just have a more I guess less spiritual life? But this is what I chose, so here I am.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not, you think going back to that not spiritual life would be better, and then you kind of try it and you're like, nah, I can't do this, right? I've got to go back to knowing
It's actually
knowing what I
hard to go
know.
back to it.
It is really
There's
hard,
no going
and I
back.
think, a couple of friends and I were talking about this the other day about how it's kind of like examining like the matrix and how things, but when you really think about money and money around the world and realize it's fake. It's just this thing that people made up to
Yeah.
make some people better than others, and to trade things. And you think, we could live in a world where everybody has everything they need. They just live their lives, and when you think about those two drastics, you're like, but wait, what about, and but it just blows your mind, like, right, like all of these constructs that have been built to kind of control us and herd us into these different groups, so that we all mad at each other and not facing our spirituality and saying,
They
oh
put
my
so
god,
much
this is the
pressure
real
on us
life.
to live up to this kind of life of exactly like, constructs around the world and money and all this stuff that really shouldn't matter. But we're literally living our life by what, you know, somebody created for
Right.
us. Like this is how you need to live it, and that's successful. That's
Right.
not
And
it.
it drives you crazy sometimes. You think about it like, God, I need money for this. And you're like, well, why does money exist? Why should I have to pay for that? And it's like, everything, you should have everything you need. It's somebody made a comment to me and they said, there is enough shelter in the world that everybody could have shelter over their heads, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't. There's enough food that everybody could be fed, but they're not. Just because we've got these constructs
Speed.
built that we keep things from each other because it makes us feel bad. I don't know. But when you start digging down deep in it, it will blow your freaking mind. Like, I don't understand why this is happening. And that's part of that stepping outside your body and seeing the matrix for what it really is.
I also want to talk about how limitless we really are when it comes to these kinds of things. Like I know that I started off not really sure in life what I was experiencing, but as time went on, I really realized all the things I can do with my spiritual gifts. And how once you start working and developing your spiritual gifts, how many other gifts kind of come along with it that like it's not just mediumship. It's like you can have prophetic dreams, you can travel the astral realm, you can go into trance channeling, you can channel interdimensional beings, you can remote view, like all these things that I'm seeing, I'm like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. Like it's crazy to think that once you start developing how many things you are actually capable of doing. And I'm not saying this is just me. I literally believe everybody was born to be able to do these things. Like, it is our birthright as we come here. Like, we are the aliens that we kind of are always searching for because we were made to be able to access these gifts. Not all of us want to, right? Because we're kind of living in the 3D realm and that seems nice enough and that's what we want to learn at that time. But when you actually think of how much we can do from like a soul perspective and integrate with our human bodies and our human minds, if you can get into alignment, the things that you can achieve and learn about the universe from where you are is amazing. And we suppress it. And I wish more people would stop suppressing that part of them because they would see how much power actually lies within them, how much we can actually do, how much lies that like our governments and stuff tell us about, and like they poison us with our food and not actually poison, but you know what I mean, with like all these
Yeah.
hormones and
Hormones.
antibiotics and stuff kind of pumped into our foods that keeps our vibration low, keeps us feeling sick. When we are in alignment and like we're eating properly, we're taking care of ourselves, and we're really integrating our spiritual self, spending time in nature and quieting the noise, the amount of like growth you're going to have is going to be insane because you're going to realize that everything that we are putting into our bodies and focusing on, whether it's the news, whether it's, the things going on in the world, is lowering our vibration, right? When you are vibrating high, you can do so much. You are literally limitless.
Yeah. And it's funny that that you mentioned that earlier because I think one of the issues that I've always had was understanding that I could do these things, right? Because I know at one point I asked my guides, I was like, I would really like to learn how to do this aspect. And they're like, you know it. All you have to do is remember it. And you're not letting yourself remember it. You don't have to go and have somebody teach you how to do that. You know how to do it, just remember it. And I'm like, okay, what do you mean? So then it goes back to, and you're thinking, okay, well, if I know how to do all this, I've just got to let go of these limiting beliefs or this, I don't believe I can do it, or, whatever, so that I can remember it. And once I started applying that, the things that I was like, oh, yeah, I do know how to do this, and this is exactly how to do it. It really makes a difference in your life. And not just, again, I had a conversation with one of my clients the other day. Um, Not everybody gets to access or gifts to help other people.
Yeah,
That's not what it's about. Sometimes you can be clairvoyant, and that doesn't mean you have to go give readings for people. It's to help
Mhm.
you. It's to help you understand yourself, your life, what you're going through, what's coming up, what you need to plan for. So, and I wanted to just explain that to people because just because you may have realized something you can do doesn't mean your path is to help other people with it. It may just be to help you understand who you are. Would you say
that's
so,
true.
Heather?
Yeah, I totally agree with that because that's what happened to me. Like I learned Reiki level 1 because I just wanted to learn how to heal myself. I had no intention of
That's what
becoming a
I did
Reiki
as well.
master and then developing mediumship. And then here I am, doing this as a side business and I'm sitting here with you two. Like if you told me this would happen 5 years ago, I would have said you're completely nuts. Like that's not what's going to happen, but it did. And I just want to give an example of, developing your intuition. What you said there, Robbie, is exactly correct, right? It's not always about, doing this professionally because not everyone's meant to, and that's okay. But developing your intuition, it has so many benefits. Like um, I love when what do you call it? When you misplace an item, like your keys or something, and I'll go to my guides and I'll say, well, where is it? Show me where it is. And a lot of times it works. And I'll find the object, like it will be in my car or it will be like in a drawer. So I've used it for that. But I feel like it really has fundamentally shifted my perspective and it's really allowed me to not take things so personal because I feel like because of the work that I've done, when someone, for example, doesn't show up the way that we would show up, I no longer take that personal. I just look at it like that person is just not able to meet me where they're at. So I feel like it's really expanded my viewpoint. It's definitely changed my perception. And in a way, it's really freed me from, the self-imposed limiting beliefs, although I still struggle. Um, that's 100% true. But I just feel overall, I feel like I deal with things a whole lot better because my mindset is more, it's more healthier. to be able to handle, the chaos of the world. And I think like that's huge for people, right? There's so much going on right now. So if you have like, the ability to like sit, in silence for even 10 minutes, because I know everyone's really busy, that's only going to benefit you. And then in turn, that's actually going to benefit like your relationship with your kids, with your partner, with your work colleagues. So I feel like it's so expansive, and it really can just transform so many things in so many beautiful ways.
I agree. I totally agree with that. I do want to talk about something that Lara mentioned earlier, because when you were talking about going in your meditation, I felt some hesitation there to talk about the guided meditation, and because sometimes people,
Oh,
sometimes people feel like guided meditations are, cheating, or, I'm above that. And, I don't believe that's the case at all. Even though a lot of times I can go in and just meditate and say, hey, let me see, or do whatever needs to happen, come in. There are times that I'm like, you know what, I want to do a guided meditation because there's something specific that I want to get done. I want to cut a cord. I want to balance and align my chakras. I want to meet my spirit guides. You know, um, I record a lot of guided meditations, put them on my YouTube channel, Panda Hearts Intuition for those. But
yeah, they're great
I've
meditations.
noticed, I've noticed that people really like those, because sometimes, like we've talked about before, some people don't know how to meditate, and it really helps them understand how to get there, how to ground, how to get to that space. But also, like you said, it will take you places sometimes you didn't think you could ever go. So I just wanted to tell people that if that's what you do, that's great. Do it, continue doing it. And those that just don't want to do it, maybe give it a shot and see if you can find something that you didn't know you had inside you. You know, you guys, Heather, you like guided meditations, don't you? I know you've listened to
I
a couple of mine
do.
I put out there.
I have. And I always, with people that I do readings for, and they're new to like, they're just going through a spiritual awakening, they're at the beginning of the journey, I actually recommend that because, and I still get it from time to time where I have good and bad days where, there's sometimes I go into a meditation that's not guided and I have all these thoughts coming in. And that happens and it's okay. But I feel like when you're at the beginning of your journey, how I learned was I did a lot of guided meditations and I still do. So I do a variety of meditations now, but I always tell people in the beginning, I feel like that's a really good starting point because it like trains your brain. And then two, when you get those intrusive thoughts that come in, I tell them to put it on a cloud and send it off and then go back to center and re-engage with that voice that is in the guided meditation. So I feel like it's really good for that aspect. It's really good to bring you back into the meditation if you do have those intrusive thoughts that kind of want to take your brain
It
elsewhere.
takes a lot of training to
It
kind of get
does.
to that place that I think a lot of people have a hard time pushing through. Like so many people are like, I can't meditate. Like even for a couple minutes, they just can't bring themselves to do it. I know people that find it highly uncomfortable to sit in meditation, because we're so stimulated now in life, right?
Yeah.
But being with your own thoughts for even a couple minutes is scary. And especially if you're sensitive to spirit and you're not sure how you feel about that, you are going to start to feel different energies around you. And it does freak people out. Like there's people I know literally for maybe like 1 to 2 minutes, and then they're like, no, I'm done. It like they get anxiety during it. But
Yeah.
if I was like that too. But I was actually going through a lot of anxiety, and this was a way I was starting to really open myself up as I was going through my spiritual awakening. I really had to be consistent and push through it. Without the consistency, you're not going to get anywhere. And you have to, like, even if you do it for 1 extra minute, each time, you're going to get to a better place. Now, I'm interested. Do you guys, I like doing guided meditations because sometimes I'm just in a busy mind state. I can't drop out of it, but I do meditate sometimes with just music, nothing, or sometimes with nothing at all, just silence. And that's usually when I want to sit in the power and I'm like, I really know what I'm going in to do that day. But for you guys, like, what's your kind of preference?
Heather, you want to go first?
I like guided meditations. I like just listening to frequencies, specific frequencies I like too with the chakras. I also like chakra clearing meditations. There's actually a lady that I follow on YouTube, and I send this to a lot of people that I work with just because it's so versatile. You could literally use this meditation to connect with your guides. I use it sometimes just to sit in the power. Sometimes I'll actually use it to connect with like highly ascended beings. I know that sounds kind of woo woo, but at the end of the day, even if you just listen to it, it, she's sending you Reiki. So I feel like even if you get that benefit from it, it's going to be helpful in that sense. But I like a variety, and I actually have like a playlist that I've created, and I try to change it up because I feel like it's beneficial to not always do the same thing over and over and over again. I feel like you try something different, it's going to only add to um your expansiveness. So I like a wide variety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. I'm the same way. There are some times that I will go to meditate and just feel, I'm just going to sit in the dark and quiet and just let what needs to come. But
Hmm.
most of the time it is like a background music. Like my favorite is like Egyptian, background because that's just what I love. But that's one of the favorite ones I do. But I do also listen to like different like shamanic drums or even like binaural beats or
Yes.
the hemi sync music
Yep.
to
Yep.
get my mind right in that place, and sometimes that is a really cool experience
It
sometimes.
is.
You know, sometimes it doesn't work the way I'd like it to, but I when the energy's right and I'm in the right place, they can be fantastic. But guided meditations I like as well. Just maybe I'm just feeling off that day and I just don't have the energy to just do what I need to do, and I'll just put on a guided meditation. Or I'm like you though, Heather. I have my YouTube playlist are outrageous because I'll like be looking for one and I'll save it into different playlists. And I've got like hundreds in there that I've probably not listened to most of them, but I'll actually play a game sometimes where I'll open my playlist and just scroll and say, okay, guys, show me the one that I need to listen to tonight. And
I
then I'll
love
just
that.
close my eyes and stop and I'll listen to it. And most of the time it's really good. So yeah, I do the same thing. So I think that's good for people to know that it doesn't really matter how you meditate. And um, even meditating like that is not what you have to do, right? Sometimes meditating is just zoning out while you're washing dishes, or you're cleaning the house and you're in the space and you come in, you're like, I don't know, what did I just do? Because it's like when you're driving that happens. I know I do that a lot. I'll be driving and get to a stoplight, and then the next thing I know, I'm where I'm at, and I'm like, dear God, how did I get here? I don't remember anything past stopping at this light. Have you ever done that? Where you're just like, I don't
Mhm.
remember getting here. And I mean, I was safe apparently, but again, that's the type of meditation. I wouldn't want to do that like intentionally when you're driving, but for those that say I can't meditate, just think about those times that you weren't intentionally trying to meditate, but that happened. You like snapped out and you're like, I don't even know what I was talking about for the past 10 minutes or whatever. So I think that's an interesting thing to tell people.
Um, can I ask you guys? So we were talking about how my experience felt like a lot like trance channeling. Um, who has experience within trance channeling? And maybe you can share a little bit about how that might feel in a meditation so somebody can actually recognize if that's how they are starting to connect with spirit.
You want me to go? Is
If
Robbie
you're
frozen?
comfortable with it. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Heather. No,
I just
no, I
I
think
just
I think it's
started.
just we're having some connection issues.
Yeah, I just started the whole trance mediumship, which for me was a big step because it requires, I feel like, complete vulnerability and to
Yeah.
let the guard completely down, which is, that's hard for me because just me being me. And I've always kind of had a little bit of fear in regards to fully allowing that to transpire, but it is quite magical and it was actually already happening naturally. So I feel like it started to pop up in my awareness. So I was like, I feel like this is the next natural progression for me. But it's quite transformational. And just when you have that complete blend, and I remember my teacher saying it's like, it's basically like allowing them to just completely envelop you in like a hug and to feel that loving presence just merge with you, and it just takes you to such new heights and a new level. It was really quite like the best way I can describe the energy. It felt so loving, but it was a very deep and honoring energy. um, and I'm just at the beginning of it, so I've only done it a couple times, but I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
no,
So
I would
intriguing.
agree.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Heather. I would just say though, I think the energy that you felt, the loving thing was, since you're new to this, that is one of the entities you're channeling, right? You can actually feel their energy, and the reason I say that is because when I'm channeling and I'm actually trance channeling and allowing them in, their energy feels different depending on who they are, honestly. Like when I channel the raw, it's this powerful raw energy that is high, and it's kind of like an intelligent, there's wisdom in this energy. You can just feel it. um and then when I channel other things, you can feel like love, or the fire, or like Isis is really powerful and really hot, and can't handle it for too long because it's just so much. But as you start doing this more and start channeling the different, you'll be able to tell exactly who's coming in by how you feel, right? Okay, well, this is what's happening. But to answer your question, Lara, some of the things that have happened to me is, um I know when I'm meditating, I know I'm about to channel when I start seeing portals appear. Like there's usually a big one in front of me that looks kind of like that show on TV, Going into a Black Hole. It kind of looks like that, where it's swirling and it
Like,
looks
does
like
it
a
feel like
tunnel.
you're just kind of coasting along, like
Yeah,
on in the movement
exactly.
on
Yeah,
the
like,
sides? Ah, okay.
Cool.
yes. Yeah, I feel that. Um, and then there will be kind of this tug, like, okay, whoever you're connecting to is connected now. Um, but with sometimes when I do it, I picture like I don't know if you ever seen like the radio frequency where it looks kind of like an EKG, where it's like,
Okay,
all
yeah.
wiggly lines. And I'll see that, and I'll see that the lines just like lowering until like it's a flat line. And that is basically me trying to tune into the right frequency that I need to get to channel that particular entity. And when it goes flat like that, that's like, okay, now I'm connected. I know that I've broken through
Are
the
you
frequency.
deciding who you're
So,
connecting to, or does spirit decide for you?
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, most of the time when I connect, it is with intention, because if you don't, anything could come in, right? So I say specifically, this is who I'm going to connect to today. Now, there are times that I will say, okay, I know who I can connect to. Whichever one of you need to say something, do that, but that's it. Nobody else, just the ones that I know their frequency. And so it helps to set up that protection and set those intentions so that you know exactly what you're connecting to.
Yeah, that's actually really important because those of us that are actually scared of trance and that don't recognize that we're trancing, not that I think anything crazy is going to happen to you, but everything is very intentional and you want to make sure you're connecting to the energies that you trust because that's where you're going to feel most relaxed, right? If you're not sure what you're connecting with, you'll never actually achieve the trance that you're wanting to achieve. You're going to pull yourself out of it, right?
I agree. And also going into it with an open mind, because I think it's great, Lara, that you're starting to get these experiences, but I think it's going to be harder for you to do it intentionally until you've done it a few times and worked through your fears about it, because those
Mm.
fears can stop you from connecting, because your mind's like, you don't want to do this anyway, we're not going to do it. I'm not going to put you through that trauma, because it can be traumatic if you don't want to do it, and it just comes in, you're like, I don't want this invasion.
Well,
But
yeah, I have this fear that like if I go into a trance that like I'm gonna like end up possessed. And here we have all those religious kind of
yeah, yeah,
memories surfacing up and those belief systems around that. And
yeah.
yeah, I've had a hard time really navigating that. I'm like, shit, like I have kids. I don't want to be like possessed here. I've seen the movies. I'm not interested. But it seems to be, even though I set boundaries surrounding this, spirit keeps pushing it on me and they keep drawing me to it. And I know that it's because I'm supposed to. That's how it was when I started with my mediumship. I'm not meant to just do that kind of mental. Well, I guess this is all mental mediumship, but you know what I mean? Not meant to like just do it that way. I'm supposed to have different ways that I'm gonna connect.
Yeah.
And I just want to say here that like when I like the before my very first trance class, I actually went to a greenhouse and I meditated. I'm pretty sure I told you guys about this, how I connected to my higher self. And
Greenhouse?
yeah, I went to a greenhouse that's right up the street from me. I love meditating there because it's I mean, I'm an earth sign, but I love nature and I just feel
Oh,
like
that
the
planty.
Yes, the vibe
Yeah.
there is just so high. And it was very interesting because my higher self told me, and I'm channeling this information directly. And he was like, "You're already doing trance. Like you're already doing this. It's your mind that just needs to get out of the way." But he said it actually has nothing to do with your body. It's about merging consciousness. Right. And then I was in that class that day, and my teacher actually said that exact same thing to me. So I knew, because a lot of people, you see the movie and you think you're going to be possessed, right? And I remember telling you guys about that dream where I had that spirit that was trying to jump into my body and he couldn't. He just
What did
bounced
you
right
tell him
off.
again? What did you tell him again? I love it what you told him.
I told him to get out of my meat. I said, "Get out of here. This is my meat suit."
Love that.
Love that. But I think we have this, from, religion, right? That we think that we're going to get possessed. And um, I just want people to know that trance is actually about merging and blending fully consciousness. It's not actually about, even though, yes, they can use your body, but it is not actually about the body. It is about merging the consciousness.
I like that you clarified that for everybody because I feel like a lot of us have a lot of misinformation when it comes to trans channeling, and there's not a lot of support groups for that out there. Like you can find a ton of mediumship, and people doing mediumship, the same way that we do, but there's not a lot of people that are open to talking about trans mediumship. It is very woo-woo kind of to the average person. So I think it's important to kind of talk about that. If you were to show trance mediumship to somebody, like a video of it, people would be like, absolutely not. Like that is absolutely crazy. And it would just not happen. But it's really, I find it so enlightening and so interesting. The information that can come through is just amazing.
Yeah, and you're not wrong about, the way people view it. Because honestly, 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't be on a podcast talking about I could trans channel because it was like I don't want people to think that I'm nuts. I don't want people to think that, this is some kind of hoax. But I've done it enough and things have happened to me after I've done it to prove that it was real enough to know, okay, I'm this is an actual experience for me. And other people, they may not believe it, they may not agree with it. And without sounding rude, I don't care, quite honestly. That's them. This is me. Um, and that's just the way you kind of have to go forward with it is because there's always going to be somebody out there that doesn't believe that we can do what we can do. There's always going to be those that want to start
Yeah,
arguments and say, things like, well, read me and tell me what's coming up. And you just have to kind of flip them off and keep on walking or whatever.
I
But,
do hate
you
that.
know, it's, I think that's one of the things that keeps us as a collective, as what we do, from progressing faster is that fear of not only what are people going to think, but some people are really crazy nowadays. What are they going to do to me if they find out where I live? Or, I know people that don't use their real name when they do work like this because they don't want people to know who they are. Um, Robbie's not my real name, by the way, just for those that may be thinking it's Patrick something. Anyway, so there, I mean, it does keep people back sometimes to from doing it because you get scared. But all I can say is just follow your heart. If you need to keep it quiet, keep it quiet. There's nothing wrong with not telling the world about it, but don't be afraid to.
I don't think anything would surprise my friends and family at this point about me. Like I've put myself out there for so much stuff and putting literally my life out on this podcast with you guys has been it's been really healing actually and like
I
Mhm.
therapeutic.
agree.
But you know, there's nothing that I won't share with somebody in that sense. Like my personal life, okay, but like things about me and who I am, I'm very open. Like anybody can ask me anything, and I'm going to give you my truth. That doesn't need to be everyone's truth, but those are my opinions, my truth. This is the way I live. And, there's people that are going to hate all the time, and that's
It's
okay.
that's really cool that you said that because I didn't when we first started this, I agree it was we wanted to do this, but I didn't realize how cathartic it would be for me to actually
Hmm.
talk about some of the stuff that I haven't talked to about a lot of people. And there were
Yeah.
people that I was like, I don't really want to talk to about this in front of them, but if they hear it, whatever. And I actually had somebody message me a few days ago and was like, I just listened to your podcast. I had no idea that you were going through this. It was one of those people that I was like, I don't really want them to know because I don't know what they would think. So I think too, it's also giving us an opportunity to get this out without having to specifically talk to somebody and just letting them figure out who we are on our own. Because some of them will really accept it when we didn't think that they would, just by stumbling upon our podcast. So for
Mhm.
me, this has been a really good experience to help deal with some of that.
I
Heather, what
I
actually
about
feel
look
you?
like
forward to
too,
the
when
time.
you embody that energy, I feel like, and I don't care anymore what anybody thinks about me. You can think I'm weird, friends, family, whoever. I don't care anymore. But I feel like because I don't care anymore, it actually doesn't like trigger other people anymore. I feel
Yeah,
like it shifts it, right? So,
Imagine just hating somebody just because they're living their life, not even trying to bother you, not up in your business,
right?
just living their life, in meditations and talking about interdimensional stuff and, like, who cares?
yeah. Who cares? I mean, we do, but
I seriously look forward to doing this podcast every week because it's a time like where we get to check in and it's like I feel like I'm just hanging with friends. Like, I know
yeah,
we air it and that's fun, but
yeah,
like I
it
don't
is.
care about, putting myself out there the way I used to. And I find this super therapeutic. I love it.
I do too. I do too.
Your real
Well,
name
I think,
Patrick, though?
okay. No, my real name's not Patrick. Patrick Star from SpongeBob.
Laugh
No.
or do we just like be respectful?
I was just trying to throw people off the trail, you know.
I was
Thanks,
like, how did
Heather.
I miss that one? Like
There,
Don't I
we're
look
just going
like
to
a
introduce
Patrick?
you as Patrick now. You are Patrick.
Patrick
Yeah,
Star.
Patrick Star. Yes. Well, I think we did another good podcast this time, ladies, don't you?
Always.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
enjoyed it. I
I
always
did
do.
too. So,
Okay, so
Leather, if you
I
want, Larry,
think
you
we're
want to
going
lead
to
us
have a
off?
special guest on next one, aren't we? I'm going to
Yeah,
set up a special guest, so stay tuned. And we'll talk about, all the same things we've been talking about. Get really
yeah.
vulnerable and feel.
It'll
Hmm.
be another good time.
It always is.
Okay, bye, guys.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.